really glad to be here today is so that I can share with all of you a lot of the wonderful things about Gary that I can think of. For example, well, we'll get back to that. I don't know if Gary has ever mentioned to any of you that he's from Chelsea.
That's news.
Don't make fun of
No,
him.
Chelsea's a great place. Chelsea's a great place. It's such a wonderful place. It was, and it still is. That and I know Gary is very proud of a lot of the famous people that originated from Chelsea. Now here's just a small list of them. If you get on the internet, you'll probably see 50 different names. But I just took some that might be familiar to us. Now, one of them is Ed King, who was the governor of the Commonwealth. We have Johnny Ruiz, who of course was a heavyweight champion of the world, fairly recently. We have Chuck Corea, who was a jazz pianist. We have Horatio Alger, going way back into the 1800s, who was a very, very famous author. And we have Arnold Stang, the comedic actor. And then there's an actor today whom I really don't know, but he's on several TV shows by the name of Kenneth Tiger. Do any of you know him? No, but the internet showed that he was on several TV shows. And we also have, going way back into the 50s, the game show host, Win Elliott. I know I remember him, maybe some of you don't. And finally, someone that a lot of you might not know, the name of the great Solly Nectum. Saul Nectum was a great person, but he was a great athlete. And I found out that he actually went to Boston University back at the time when they played ball more competitively than they do now. And he was a four-sport athlete at Boston University: football, basketball, baseball, and track. He lived his whole life in Chelsea. He was coaching at Chelsea High School, and he was the athletic director at Chelsea High School. And his daughter, actually, Amy Nectum, is the Chief Justice of the juvenile court system here in the Commonwealth. So these are some of the famous people that come from Chelsea. But, yeah, I didn't see that on the list, but there's another one. But there are some people from Chelsea that Gary may not be so proud to tell you about. I wonder if you remember and if you know that 3 consecutive mayors of Chelsea were convicted of taking bribes.
One of them was my roommate.
And all 3 of these men were acquaintances or classmates of Gary. Yeah. Now he tends to hide that fact. Now I'm not trying to establish any kind of a link between these 3 felons and Gary, but as a member of the bar, I think I should tell you, Gary, that you do have the right to remain silent. It probably would be a good idea. And also that anything you say, for damn sure, will be held against you. Now we come to the GT of the GK. The GT of the GK stands for the Great Transformation of Gary Kaplan. GT of GK. Now we all have this image of Gary. I think it's all pretty much the same. We see Gary downstairs in his little TV room, eating meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and watching the Patriots game at night in his underwear. I mean,
See what I mean?
now this, but this was before the transformation. This was the old Gary. The Gary is now acquired senior status and he sees himself a little bit differently. I wonder if all of you know that just over the last few weeks or few months, Gary has been to the Museum of Fine Arts 3 times. 3 times.
Screaming and kicking.
And he has been to the Peabody Essex Museum recently to see one of their exhibits. Now, this is Gary Kaplan I'm talking about. I asked Gary how he liked the exhibit at the Museum of Fine Arts, and he said, "Oh, the docent was terrific." Now, we've all known Gary for many years, for decades. Have any of you ever heard him use the word docent before? Yeah. Never.
Dozy-dos and dozy-dos.
No. So I do think, though, that he has a ways to go until he becomes a true patron of the arts that he thinks he's becoming right now. I mentioned to Gary that Whistler's mother is coming to the Clark Arts Institute in Williamstown in July. And Gary said, "Oh, she's a nice lady." And some years ago, there was a Renoir exhibit at the Museum of Fine Arts, and I mentioned to Gary that I was going to see Renoir, and he said to me, "Is it going to be there?" So you see, he does have a ways to go until he becomes a true patron of the arts. Now he sees himself as kind of smooth and debonair and a patron of the arts, and he even takes river cruises in Europe. He does. But one thing he doesn't do. And I think this is probably due to his legendary frugality. He does not order expensive wine in restaurants, but he might be getting there.
No. Not expensive wine.
I think some of you probably remember Don Rickles. I don't know if the younger people do, but sure. But he made his living and became famous by belittling people and roasting them and eviscerating them. And he was okay. I enjoyed his act, but there was one thing that he did at the end of his act most of the time that I really liked. His tone would change, his demeanor would change, and then in a few short sentences, he would speak from the heart and tell you how he really felt about the person that he was talking about. So let me just say this to paraphrase Senator Lloyd Bentsen back in 1988 when he was having his vice presidential debate with Dan Quayle, and Dan Quayle compared himself to John F. Kennedy. So to paraphrase what Bentsen said, let me just say, I am no Don Rickles, to be sure. But let me close by saying that of all the people in this troubled world that we live in, Gary, you are, without question, one of the kindest and one of the most decent. And everyone here, love you very much.